flatlands of Norfolk and Snetterton for rounds 5 and 6 of this year's British GT Championship. A weekend that'll see the drivers tackle 2 one-hour sprint races, guaranteeing that the action will be closer than ever around this fast but extremely technical circuit. The 3-hour epic at Silverstone last time was a dramatic affair, with the class wins in GT3 and GT4 going right down to the wire. Here's Martin Haven to remind us what happened.
Silverstone was the biggest and toughest race of the year, and with a huge grid of cars battling for every inch of track, it was almost inevitable there'd be some contact. This may have been an endurance race, but the pace was frantic. Through the drama, Michael Caine and Ahmed Al-Harthi kept cool heads to bring the Oman Racing Aston home and claim the win.
I'm happy we did win it, and it was a perfect weekend for us. Everybody is in here to win this championship, and I think that as long as we continue our philosophy and score as many points as we can and make sure we have perfect race weekends and learn from our race weekends, that's what's the most important for us at the moment.
Rick Parfitt collided with Andrew Jarman trying to take the GT4 lead, allowing the twisted Parker Ginetta of Bradley Ellis and Adrian Barwick to claim their first win.
It was an absolutely brilliant weekend for the team. So one of those weekends where I think we made such few mistakes. I managed to get on the pace. Brad was just brilliant as usual, and everything just came together.
So after 4 races, Marco Attard and Alex Sims lead the way, just 2.5 points ahead of reigning champion Andrew Howard with Johnny Adam. Andrew Jarman and Devon Modell 3 points ahead in GT4. Snetterton's always been special for Tom Onslow Cole. He'll be hoping it can bring him some luck this weekend.
This place holds some good memories for me. My first BTCC win in 2007, which was a while ago now, but more relevant, it's the first time I actually got to drive the Aston. This is where I really got hooked on GTs. To a certain extent, a car's a car. You know, there's 5 wheels and I'm only in charge of one of them, so I haven't got too much on that side. But it's the strategy, the driver changes, and that side of things that is extremely different. And for me, in my first ever races, the most nerve-wracking point is the driver change, making sure that you've got everything right, not to lose any time in the pits. It's just something I haven't had experience with. But the more races I'm getting under my belt, the more sort of settled and easier and second nature these things are becoming.
The CWS team have shown pace in the past. They're struggling to get out of the GT3 mid-pack though, and hope for a change in their luck.
I think it's been quite a difficult year, truthfully. We've had quite a number of problems, accidents, and just a lot of things not quite going our way. So really looking forward to this weekend at Snetterton, and hopefully we can put a few things straight. You know, we've the balance performance has been slightly adjusted to help us out a little bit. Not too sure how that's going to affect things, but for sure we're probably in our best condition yet.
And another wrinkle for Snetterton, a brand new teammate to consider.
When Colin told me that he wasn't going to be here, he was my first choice. So I got on the phone and he was happy to take part. This is his 10th year in the British GT, so he loves it, and any opportunity to get back in the car, and he grabbed it.
So we're expecting some serious fun here at Snetterton, as we always get in the British GTs. Now let's get over to Andy J on the grid.
Well, it's race time here at Snetterton. My goodness, aren't these conditions just perfect? The sun is out, there's very little wind, and this is one packed grid of supercars. In fact, just look at the front 4. You've got an Aston Martin taking on a Porsche, a Ferrari and a BMW. Oh, supercar action at its very finest.
It's a rolling start for round 5 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship, and we're back to 2 one-hour sprints after the 2 hours of Rockingham and 3 hours of Silverstone. Pole sitter is Marco Attard in the BMW. On the right in front of us, Jody Firth on the left, Pazin Latouras in the Ferrari. And Firth moves into second place from 3rd on the grid. The inside line into the first corner at Ritchie's seems to be the one that is working well. Hot conditions here. It's going to be very tough on the drivers, might be tough on the tyres as well. Safely around the Montreal hairpin for the leaders and for the rest of the field on board with Adrian Barwick, 8th in GT4. Barry Baxter's Porsche on the outside. That's the white tail of Andrew Jarman's Aston Martin just in front of us. Heading down to Agostini's, Marco Attard leads from the black and orange Porsche of Jody Firth. Great start for the track speed car. They've had such rotten luck this season. Hope they can turn it around here at Snetterton. Car number 21, the Aston Martin of Paul White in 15th place, chasing the man in front of us now. That's Chris Hoy. Dust being kicked up already as drivers use all the road and a little bit more. They want to avoid that if they need to keep their tyres for this endurance race and to hand over in good condition to their teammates. That's the rule all the way down the order on the tight, twisty infield here at Snetterton. You can't afford to be sliding too much. On board with Adrian Barwick once more. GT4 Ginetta, Paul McNeely in front. Andrew Jarman's white Aston Martin has got by him. Barwick running out very wide there as well as they get onto the back straight.
And now making their way through the very tricky last couple of corners here at Snetterton, through the bomb hole as you dip down and rise back up again, out of Coram as well. It's all important for these drivers to get the best run they can before coming towards the end of lap number 1.
John Minshaw in the 63 Porsche. The Porsche's looking a little bit more competitive here. Slow speed traction is their real forte. High speed sweeps of Silverstone perhaps didn't show that off as well as here at Snetterton. You can see him closing a little on passing Latourus as they get onto the pit straight.
And of course, that Porsche used to be the number 33. They've changed the number for this race, bringing the number 63 to Snetterton in the hope that it will change their luck. So we'll see how that plays out, but as of right now, that Porsche is looking a little more competitive.
And racing drivers complain that people think they're overly superstitious. Jody Firth in second place, trying to let the driving do the talking rather than the stickers on the doors as we get deep into the GT4 class. 48, Paul McNeely just ahead of Adrian Barwick. Oz Yusuf leading the class in the Lotus. And again, like the Porsche, using its traction to great advantage here. Clearly the BMW Z4 not short of some traction either out of the slower corners. And this, Liam, is quite a tight and twisty infield section, lots of second and third gear stuff.
Yeah, and this is, as you said earlier on, where these Porsches really do start to come alive. You're right on board with John Minshaw now as he tries to close the gap between himself and Patin Latourus. And there you can see that's the 407 Aston Martin of Ross Wiley trying to hold on from another Aston Martin, the number 49 of Andrew Jarman.
Well, those cars 5th and 6th in the GT4 class being led by Oz Yusuf. We're with the Lotus driver, Rick Parfitt, the reigning champion, now closing up on him. And after a disastrous time at Silverstone in the points-and-a-half 3-hour race, Parfitt right there in car number 42 needs to get back to winning ways and put the car on the top of the podium if he can. He's using the slipstream as well to help him close right up. Marco Attard, though, easing away now from Jody Firth in the battle for third, passing Latourus with John Minshaw all over the back of him.
On board with Jody Firth as well. You can just see in the foreground there the Akuriakos BMW trying to escape the Porsche power as they make their way down the main straight. But as one Porsche loses time, the other one is quite frankly gaining it. It could very well be rags to riches as they dive into turn number 1. The Porsche on the outside of the young tired driver. We'll see if he can make this one stick for third position. Quite a difficult move to make, but he may have just pulled that off perfectly.
Good move around the outside. The problem is when you're on the inside, you have the ground for the next corner, which is also a right-hander. And as Minshaw slips out wide, passing Latourus counterattacks. And right behind Minshaw now is Andrew Howard in the Beach Dean Aston Martin. And as Minshaw has to just dab the brakes to avoid contact, the Aston will be all over him out of the corner. And that's great work by passing Latourus. An assertive counter-attack. Minshaw went round the outside, but Latourus knew the road would come to him and bided his time, made a clean repass. And now Minshaw in the Demon Tweaks car has got Andrew Howard's Aston Martin for company. This battle for third, slowing each other down, being caught by the big group behind. This could soon be a large queue behind our top Ferrari.
And the top car in GT4 now, however, is the Century Motorsports Ginetta of Rick Parfitt Jr. And he's overtaken the Lotus Evora of Oz Yusuf, the number 77, who's still running fairly well today. You're right on board with him once again, and already you can see how much ground Rick Parfitt Jr. is covering. He really wants to try and get that championship drive back underway after a dismal season so far, and he's certainly going the right way about it.
And that Ginetta is really moving around a lot, and Parfitt's got to be careful not to overuse those tyres before he hands it over to his teammate.
And here's a quick look back at how Rick Parfitt Jr. took the lead of the race, and Oz Yusuf just maybe allowed a bit too much of a hole there. Parfitt's going to slide up the inside. It's very, very risky indeed, and as we say, Rick Parfitt showing no signs of hanging around here at Snetterton.
Well, our race leader Marco Attard racing away with Jody Firth. The battle for third continues, back down to a two-horse race. And again, it looks as though the Porsche of John Minshaw is trying to find a way around Paston Laturis in the Ferrari, but without singular success. This tight infield section really is a bit of a one-line race course, and for big, powerful cars like these, they need to stretch their legs a little more than they're being able to as they scurry from corner to corner, and that means a lot of planning required from the driver to try and force an error from your rival.
He does indeed, and John Minshaw may just have that mental edge, of course, more experienced than the young Paston Laturis, who's making his debut season this year, and that may just come into slight effect as that number 63 track speed tries to use that experience to put a move on him sooner rather than later.
Well, down the Bentley straight into what used to be the S's. This used to be a great overtaking position, but you'd come fast out of the corner onto the straight and really build up a head of steam, and the new infield section denies you that opportunity. And so now you have to think of new ways to get by, and one of them is out of Coram Curve into the little chicane at Murray's at the end of the lap. But you really have to rely on the man in front making a big error if you want to get through.
Once again, a great onboard view here with Minshaw, who's looking very content inside that car. He's not looking like he's pushing it too much or doesn't have a lot of oversteer or anything. He's looking very calm, which is important in a race of this distance. Obviously, it's a lot shorter than the Silverstone round of the championship, still adjusting for some of these drivers, but to try and find a balance between a sprint race and still trying to conserve the tyres in weather like this is a real skill.
That's going to be just the same in GT4. Oz Yusuf, Morton Dons and the black car Ollie Basie Fisher squabbling for second in the searing heat of Snetterton. Round 5 of the British GT Championship at Snetterton. Paston Laturis and John Minshaw leading, a little squabble for 4th, 5th and 6th. Derek Johnston in the black 888 BMW just ahead of Gary Eastwood, and in front of them their target Andrew Howard in the number 1 Aston Martin. Johnston having a deep lunge at the hairpin, closing the gap to Andrew Howard. Again after the fast expansion of Silverstone, where the Aston Martins were right at the front of the field, a tighter, twistier Snetterton circuit not allowing them to really exploit their power advantage. Paston Laturis, John Minshaw battling for second, still in the 2 red and white cars just in front of this battle, but it does appear that Johnston and Eastwood are closing down Andrew Howard. Of course, all the cars using their gentleman drivers at this stage. The pros will get in for the second part of the race. And again, Minshaw all over the back of the Ferrari. Liam, looks like we've got a couple of good top 6 battles shaping up.
We certainly do, and the starting drivers for each car want to make sure that they can get the pro drivers in the best position possible for when they take over the car in just a short space of time. So every position gain now could be absolutely critical come the end of the race.
Well, it is a team sport, isn't it? You can't just sit back and allow the pro to do everything for you. And of course, these drivers are racers as well. They will want to make sure that they do the very best job possible. John Minshaw shaping up, and also right behind Derek Johnson in the black 888 car, having a look again at Andrew Howard. He's shaken off Gary Eastwood for the moment, and that allows him to concentrate on the car in front rather than trying to attack while also defending. And Minshaw's in a similar position, and Laturis gets a little squirrely out of the chicane. So Minshaw just wiping a couple of beads of sweat off his face. It is very hot in these cars, and now the Porsche using its power out of the corner, gets the run, and around the outside into Ritchie's, the first corner, finally makes the move stick for second place, checks inside him, just wants to see where the Ferrari is as they get up to the Montreal hairpin, and he's got the door closed. Looks as though that might be job done.
Job's not done, however. Back in GT4, the battle for third still rages on as Morton Dons and Ollie Basie Fisher try to catch their way back to Oz Yusuf. You've got the 407 car of Ross Wiley still tailing onto the back of them as well. So things very heated at the moment under the sun rays here at Snetterton in GT4.
Yeah, Snetterton and heat haze, not something you normally associate with the Norfolk track, but it is hot today, and that could have a long-term effect in this race. Well, there is Passin Laturas, having been dropped by John Minshaw. Now you can see car number 1, Andrew Howard, and Triple 8 Derek Johnson are starting to close on the Ferrari. Did his defence of second place early on take a little too much too soon out of the Ferrari's tyres? Well, if it has, that is going to mean that it's easy pickings for Andrew Howard and Derek Johnson right behind him. Oh, and there's contact in the chicane. Gary Eastwood is off in the Ferrari, and it looked as though he was clattered off by Mark Paul in the red and black Aston Martin. And now Phil Driver in the black and blue Aston goes by him for 7th place. Gary Eastwood's car sitting there steaming. Let's take a look.
So just a short replay of what we just saw involving Gary Eastwood, and it just looks to me like Paul's got the line wrong. He tried to get on the curbs to avoid contact, but by that time it was too little, too late, and the damage had already been done.
Gary Eastwood out of the car, and that's the 2nd race in a row that Ferrari has been clattered off by somebody else. Back with our GT4 battle for 4th place now. Ollie Basie-Fisher, the black Ginetta, and Ross Wiley's got a good run going. He's looking high, he's looking low, outside, inside. Ooh, keeps it clean though, no contact. And has he got the overlap up to the hairpin? No. So Basie-Fisher keeps the nimble Ginetta in front. Aston Martin, again, like its bigger brothers in GT3, unable to unleash all of its power here on the tight confines of Snetterton. The blue highlights Oz Yusuf ahead of Morton Dons. That's 2nd and 3rd in the GT4 class.
And the Lotus Evora enjoying a very successful return to British GT, a 2nd at Alton Park, and this being its local circuit, it's hoping for much more of the same here today.
Well, Alton Park and Snetterton not dissimilar in terms of the number of tighter corners, so maybe that's what the Lotus needs a little more. Back to our 4th place battle. As they come by Barry Baxter's Porsche, the GT4 car stays out of the way. Passin Laturas in the Ferrari, Andrew Howard in the blue and white Aston Martin, and the black BMW of Derek Johnston. Well, Howard in a tricky position here, trying to attack the Ferrari, but also trying to make sure he doesn't leave the door open to the BMW. And he's showing his nose all over the place. This could be a good opportunity up the inside. Oh, little bit of a biff there from Derek Johnson. Andrew Howard again trying to cover off the inside line. Well, that's going to make it very hard to pass, and in fact the Ferrari, you can see, has already pulled out a couple of extra car lengths. It's now a defensive battle for the Aston Martin, and he gets stopped in the corner, but onto the straight. Derek Johnson's got the run on him, and through he goes for 5th place.
And back in GT4, however, it's still Rick Parfitt Jr. that leads from Yusuf's Lotus Evora, then Morton Dons. Ollie Basie-Fisher is in 4th position in front of Ross Wiley in 5th, and there those two drivers are now. You've got Ross Wiley on the outside in the Beach Jean Aston Martin, trying to make a pass around turn number 1 of Ritchie's, but it's such a difficult corner around the outside, and he's going to have to try and think a little bit further outside the box into the Montreal hairpin again. Basie-Fisher slightly more brave on the brakes, and that is in turn kept him in his position for just a little longer.
Well, we've seen Ross Wiley in that 407 try inside and outside of the first corner. Neither has yet worked, but he's not run out of ideas. And he's giving Ollie Basie-Fisher a really tough time. The question is he giving his own tyres a really tough time as well? Chris Hoy comes towards us in the Nissan with Steve Tandy's Bentley right behind. This is the battle for 13th position. All White's Aston Martin behind them as well. Oh, looks like the Bentley's going down the inside. That wasn't very convincing. At least he managed to avoid getting clattered by Chris Hoy, who I think saw him coming and left the door wide open for him to make his own mistake.
These are the drivers there trying to catch the number 88 BMW of Lee Mole and the Silverstone race winner of Ahmad Al-Hadi, the first double winner of 2014.
Well, Lee Mole in the car that was number 8, in 8th place at the moment in 88. Is that enough good luck for them? Paul White right behind the Bentley. Again, they're going around the GT4 cars. And that just slows up the Nissan a little. The Bentley gets by cleanly, and White is now going to have to pick his moment to try and rejoin them. And losing a corner or two behind the Porsche is going to cost him 3 or 4 laps worth of really hard work to catch them back up. So that gap opens up in traffic, and that will allow the Bentley and Steve Tandy to attack a little more.
Back to the battle for 4th in GT4 though, with Ollie Basie-Fisher still doing everything he can, but he may need to do a bit more, because while he finally gets a run up the inside of Ritchie's, and that is signed, sealed, delivered. The Beechstein Aston Martin finally finds its way through, and now let's just see if it can catch those two cars in front of it.
Well, Ross Wiley in the Aston Martin, absolute living proof that you should never give up, keep trying, and eventually he found his way by. Derek Johnson trying the same now with passing Latourus. He jumped Andrew Howard when Howard was the middle of that sandwich, trying to get by the Ferrari, and Andrew Howard now behind, and he might pick up the pieces as Johnson clatters Latourus out of the way. I'm afraid Derek Johnson is probably going to have to answer to the stewards for that. That was really quite ham-fisted. So now, of course, he's got the whole field waiting to come by. He's got to negotiate those very high curbs before he heads off. Let's take a look at how it happened.
So taking just the outside look, just very late braking, wasn't it, by the 888 machine, and nothing really Paul Latourus could do other than stop the car from moving off the circuit.
Well, clattered out of fourth now, down in 12th place, right in front of Sir Chris Hoy, but not for long. The Ferrari driver still struggling to recover his composure, and Hoy pounces immediately up the inside, and that's a bold move. Getting ready for the pit stops, Rory Butcher and Michael Caine at the Oman Racing Team. Battle for second in traffic. The Aston Martin there, that's Ross Wiley's GT4 car. Number 12 right behind, that's Jody Firth and John Minshaw, the Porsche's second and third. This could be a big weekend for Porsche.
Obviously two teammates as well right towards the end of their stint. They've got to be very careful about this. Whilst obviously they want to get their own car on the podium, they don't want to risk taking each other out, especially as the pro drivers are right around the corner from starting their stints.
Mr. Team Parker's latest race winner, Bradley Ellis, getting his helmet on. Just the weather to be standing around in lots and lots of heavy clothing. Fireproofs aren't exactly ideal in the hot weather here at Snetterton. Jody Firth and John Minshaw, now they really do need to work together, just follow each other nose to tail, make both cars quicker than our race leader, and see if they can't rein in Marco Attard. Oh, and there's trouble. Hamed Al Masoud, making his British GT debut in the Bentley, has clattered it into the barriers, and that is on the Bentley straight. His Bentley not straight, you can see the splitter there on the right-hand side of the picture. He's okay, but I'm afraid his teammate Stephen Caine may not get a drive this afternoon.
So look back at what happened to that poor Bentley then, just on the edge of the straight. Oh, he just looked like he's got a lot of oversteer before approaching this straight. There's not really much you can do in that situation, and unfortunately it's race over for the Bentley squad.
British GTs at super sunny Snetterton. 79, the BMW Marco Attard still leading as teammates Jody Firth and John Minshaw circulate nose to tail in their Porsches. In the GT4 class, Barry Baxter brings his car in to hand over to Dan Camish, and the overall leaders have lapped the entire GT4 field now. The front runners staying out, and that includes this Porsche pair, Jody Firth, John Minshaw, second and third. No battling between them as they home up in the rear-view mirrors of Rick Parfitt Jr., the GT4 class leader. And this is going to hold both Porsches up, of course, because as the leader goes onto pit road, the Ginetta much slower through the final corner, and he's coming into the pit lane as well, and they're almost running into the back of him. So first, second and third are in from GT3. Through goes Derek Johnston to assume the race lead in the 888 BMW. And out gets Marco Attard. Everybody here having to nose into the pit lane boxes. There's just not enough room to line up parallel. So driver changes are quick, but you have to push the car back, and when everybody's trying to do that, it means leaving the pit lane can be a little fraught. Fraught too, trying to find your pit stall. See the twisted Team Parker mechanic there with the stop board high up in the air to attract their car. Marco Attard jumping out of the way. Well, there goes the BMW, pushed back, but they've got a 5-second extra hold in the pit lane because of being on the podium at Silverstone, and that means there's going to be a lead change as the Demon Tweaks Porsche just squeezes out in front, and so that has gone from third to first, the BMW in second, and Warren Hughes in the orange and black car, started by Jody Firth, who's gone from second to third. So the top three shuffled, but are very close together, and trouble for our GT4 leader as well.
And Tom Oliphant, who's been in the car for just a few seconds, is struggling to get that Ginetta going. He's looking like he's got it all sorted. Here's a replay of what's happened with Gavin Kershaw's Lotus Evora. So just overtaken there is Tom Oliphant's Century. He's been pushed down the pit lane, so thank you very much for the lead, and I'll see you back out on the racetrack.
10-second hold for Johnny Adam. He and Andrew Howard on the podium at Silverstone, and the penalty is going to cost them because Rory Butcher, having taken over from Jess Smith in the number 6 Oman Racing Aston Martin, slips in front. Into the pit lane is our race leader, Derek Johnston. He did one lap more than the others and comes into a nice empty pit lane to hand over to Luke Hines.
On board here then with Warren Hughes as he approaches Dan Camish in the Porsche GT4 car. I'm wondering if he's going to be held up a little bit. He looks like he is. It's not the best place to catch a GT4 car at all, and luckily should be able to get through by the end of Richie's corner, but that's going to be a big damper on his charge for a podium.
Leader now, Phil Keane in the red and white Porsche from Johnny Cocker. Warren Hughes a little bit further back, having been delayed a lot in the opening lap. He was bumper to bumper with them coming out of the pit lane. Fourth is Luke Hines in the 888 BMW, which holds its spot.
It must feel awesome at the moment.
It's nice to be at the front. You know, it makes a change, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's representative of the driver pairing and where the car really can be.
Yeah, I mean, you're owed one of these, aren't you?
Well, we are. We've had some really bad luck. I mean, Silverstone was a disaster. Alton Park got punted off. Rockingham got punted off. So I think it's we've changed the race number to 63 as opposed to 33, hoping to bring us a bit of luck. You never know. You never know.
Battle for 7th place, an all Aston Martin affair. John Gore in the black and blue, then Rory Butcher, the red and white, and Johnny Adam, the blue and white. Butcher with a run on the inside through Coram Curve, and John Gore drifts out wide, but Johnny Adam can't quite squeeze through. Gore gets the door shut.
Here's the battle for the overall race lead. Then it's Phil Keane in the Porsche in front of the returning Johnny Cocker to the series. Standing for Alexander Sims, the youngest British GT champion back in 2004 at the age of just 18 years old.
38 Richard Ambrose Aston Martin in 5th, ahead of Joe Osborne's BMW, the double 888 car. 888 Engineering changing the number of that car to try and get rid of some of their bad luck. 8 being a very auspicious number in Oriental circles, so therefore they're assuming the more 8s you have, the better their luck could be. Well, Warren Hughes, after coming out nose to tail with the lead duo after the pit stop, seems to be losing a lot of ground in the number 12 Porsche. I wonder what problems they have. Possible, I suppose, that Jody Firth overworked the tyres early in the race. At the moment, Warren Hughes, who was right behind the BMW, nowhere close. But of course that puts lots of pressure on his teammate in the Demon Tweaks car, because the BMW right behind can attack, and has not got to worry about checking his mirrors. Well, as Johnny Cocker tries to retake the lead, Andy is with his teammate in the pits. It's Marco Attard.
We lost a little bit of the pit stop because we had that 5-second penalty from our success penalty from last time. If we haven't had that, I think we'd still be in front, but anyway, we'll just have to see how it goes.
What are you feeling? Can he take it?
I don't know. I mean, Phil Keene's a really good driver, without a doubt, and he won't make a mistake, and well, hopefully he does, but I don't think he will.
Is that the secret on this one? Just don't make any mistakes now.
I think in the end we just want points. So if we, I'm happy if we can keep second, that's great. But if we can get first, we like it.
But back in GT4 then, as Gavin Kershaw pulls away, it's left all of the battling down to Jake Giddings, Alexander Sherpin and Tom Oliphant. And Tom in that Century Motorsports that struggled to get out of the pit lane earlier on, that problem seems to have vanished as it's launching all out assaults on the number 43 machine. The inside it goes, and Oliphant overtakes Sherpin like it's no trouble at all and moves into the podium positions.
Yeah, so up to 3rd position, came in as the comfortable race leader though. Yet again, bad luck seems to be stalking that number 42 car. They had a tough time at Silverstone as well. This time, no driving errors from Rick Parfitt Jr. And Tom Oliphant now closing in on the 2nd placed Aston Martin of Jake Giddings. I think he's going to take 43 Alex Sherpin with him as well. On board with our race leader, originally Oz Yusuf started the Lotus, and now Gavin Kershaw, who's driven a lot in Lotuses in the British GT Championship, is out front, and a handy advantage as well. Bentley backed off into the barriers there. No dramas for him though, as Tom Oliphant gets right up underneath the back of the Aston Martin. Looks like he's shaping up for a pass on Jake Giddings. There's the Lotus, the leader. Got to be 6, 7, maybe 8 seconds up the road to the battle for second place. And the Aston just stretching its legs into the braking area as the race leader Phil Keane comes once more up behind the GT4 car of Tom Oliphant.
And not an ideal place to catch them once again, especially when you've got a hard-charging Johnny Cocker right behind you. The last thing you need is a bit of trouble navigating through traffic, and luckily it seems the Porsche's ability to remain nimble at Snetterton has played into its own good favour there.
Well, again, breaking up the lead battle, but also breaking up the GT4 battle, and Phil Keane got in very deep there into Murray's, the final corner, and around the outside now comes Johnny Cocker. The Kyriakos BMW in second place. He's lost a little ground, but you can bet that he'll make that up as quickly as humanly possible. He feels that the chance to win on his return to the series is definitely there for the taking. Well, he'd be a lot less aggressive perhaps if he still had Warren Hughes right behind him, but the car that tailed him out of the pit lane that was in second place has struggled. There's Jody Firth, little chat with Marco Attard. And I'm afraid Firth will not be smiling for long, because Warren Hughes, I'm fairly sure, is going to retire now. The car has been struggling since the pit stops and now is crawling to a halt. Well, these guys just cannot get a break. The car has been recalcitrant at every turn, and that is gutting for Jody Firth, and he is with him.
Jody, we're talking to you sooner than we want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not unsure what's happened yet. Warren's picked up a puncture or suspension damage or something. I don't know if it's through contact or just a pure failure. But obviously, because he's had to be moving around the track slowly, and in these hot conditions, the car's starting to overheat. So the advice from the team was to pull over and stop the engine.
You see the radiator boiling away there. The front of the Porsche very vulnerable. If you have contact, it can often do damage to the radiators that line the nose right behind the bodywork. And I'm sure that our race leader Phil Keane in the sister track speed car will be hoping that all the bad luck is on the number 12 car and is not going to come and find the newly renumbered 63. It's a real heartbreaker for the team as well. The car perhaps at its most competitive all season, and they've already lost 50% of their strength.
But they'll be hoping to keep 100% of their focus, because that's what it's going to take to keep that Kyriakos at bay in the final stint of this race. Johnny Cocker, we've said before, eager to make his return to British GT a successful one.
Working through the GT4 cars, John Gore in the blue and black Aston Martin, Johnny Adam behind him in the Beechstein car number 1, and then Matt Bell recovering in the Audi. United Autosports with Ian Dockrell doing the first stint. The Audi's a car that's often gone well at Oulton Park, so Snetterton should suit it as well. And Bell responding to the challenge.
And another one of the challenges that Snetterton offers is traffic. The track can be very narrow at times, as Phil Keane discovers. Up the inside he goes, and a small part of him will hope that Kyriakos machine does get kept at bay, but it doesn't for long. Still a lot of work to do for that number 63 Porsche.
The Ferrari of Richard Lyons under pressure. James Appleby slips up the inside in the Bentley, takes away 12th place. Hassan Latour started that red Ferrari second on the grid, and he was in 4th place when he got knocked off the track. So they could have been right at the very front of this race. Could have been where the BMW is now, in fact, as Phil Keane continues to hold the lead. A slender one, but it is a lead, and so far Johnny Cocker actually has not been able to get in position to make a move. So Phil Keane in that Demon Tweaks Porsche doing a great job of defence, not allowing Cocker anywhere close enough to even have a lunge.
Cocker with plenty of experience under his belt, as we've said, not just in British GT but in numerous different championships across the world in GT cars, as they approach Dan Camish's Porsche once again to try and navigate it as soon as they can. They don't want to be held up at this late stage during the race, of course. A mistake now could be the difference between winning and barely finishing in the points.
Phil Keane safely past the GT4 Porsche, and every time he sees a slower car in front, he knows that the pressure is on him, and Johnny Cocker must be rubbing his hands with glee every time they catch traffic. That is the most likely chance for an opportunity for a change of lead here at Snetterton. Other than that, it looks as though the Porsche has got everything pretty much under control. Phil Keane leads Johnny Cocker first and second, round 5 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship at Snetterton. And Phil Keane checking the mirrors, he's got clear road in front of him, makes sure that Johnny Cocker has not got too much of a run down the Bentley Straight in the slipstream as he turns into Brundle, and then looking to get down the gearbox here on the inside in the second part of that left-right flick through the bomb hole. Again, the BMW tracking his every move, but at the moment, Liam, it looks as though that Johnny Cocker has not got any bright ideas.
No, and he's got to try and find something sooner rather than later. Time is of the essence here at Snetterton, and also the GT4 cars will be feeling that emotion as well, as now you can just see Bradley Ellis trying to overtake Matt Nicol-Jones in a battle for 7th position. You ride on board with the Twisted Team Parker car, and Ellis looking like to be, he's in his prime at the moment, but some stern defending from the car in front means that the closing stint of this race is going to be an exciting one.
Bradley Ellis on the top step of the podium last time out at Silverstone, now struggling to try and take 7th place. Lunges up the inside of Matt Nicol-Jones. Again, it was a bit more of a half effort. Now he's got the opportunity down the Bentley Straight. Through goes the Aston Martin. He's got a couple of wheels fringing the grass, but he takes the inside line and finally takes the position.
But now the main focus remains on the overall race lead in GT3. Phil Keane in the track speed Porsche, looking to try and take the team's first win since Zandvoort in 2013. And he could well be on the road to do so, but standing in his way is that charging BMW of Johnny Cocker, and he's looking particularly feisty right now every single lap.
Matt Draper coming in the number 41 Optimum Ginetta to retire, it seems. Jade Edwards started that car, making her GT debut here at Snetterton. I'm afraid they have had pretty tough luck as well. The car's been getting slower by the lap. Well, the lead battle, hard to tell really who's under more pressure. You would assume the driver in front, but of course he's the leader, so the driver behind also feels the pressure because he's constantly trying to reinvent the wheel, find a brand new overtaking opportunity that Phil Keane has not thought of. That's going to be tough on Johnny Cocker as well. It's hot, it's physical, it's demanding mentally.
We're back on board with Bradley Ellis in the GT4 class after succeeding Matt Nicol-Jones just a few moments prior. Matt Nicol-Jones has not really given up in the Academy Motorsports Ginetta. The only problem here is that two very equally powered cars, they're both Ginetta G50s. It's all down to setup and it's all down to driver talent. But here's the man leading that GT4 class, Gavin Kershaw, in that unchallenged Lotus Evora.
The Jones brothers McLaren under pressure from Tom Sharp in the CWS Ginetta. This is the battle for 17th place. The former champions really struggling to find pace this season in that McLaren. And our Ginetta drivers trying to break out of the midfield. Looks like that break has yet to come. Into Ritchie's for the penultimate time. Phil Keane still in front of Johnny Cocker. So there's two things going on here. Either Phil Keane has thought of everything and covered it off, or Johnny Cocker has an ace up his sleeve that he is not even hinting at until the very last lap. And only time will tell us which it is. Here are the 888 engineering cars, 888 in front of 88, and that is 3rd and 4th place. Now, of course, the one thing that the team do not want is for them to knock each other off and neither car finish on the podium. So Luke Hines and Joe Osborne had better mind their P's and Q's. Well, this is really pressure time. Both the Acuria Cost BMW team and Track Speed Porsche could do with victory here. It's amazing what a midsummer win can do to your momentum. So Liam, has Johnny Cocker got a surprise in store for us?
Now, we've seen this story many times before though, haven't we, with the Acuria Cost chasing a car down in the final couple of moments. But usually it seems that the car in front is able to hold the momentum. It's all about the clutch today here at Snetterton. It's all about crunch time. You've got to try and keep your head cool. And if you can't do that, then there's a very eagerly waiting Johnny Cocker to take that position from you.
Flashing the headlights down the straight for the penultimate time through Coram Curve, dropping down on the inside, and it feels like it then runs away on the outside as you come through from the bomb hole. And then hard on the brakes, major change of direction here, and so easy to get it wrong. Phil Keane controls it all nicely, and this time around he will start the last lap of this race at Snetterton. still in front. Track speed barely daring to breathe. Last lap, Phil Keane versus Johnny Cocker. Nobody else is within a country mile of them. It is about these two cars and these two drivers. Who has got what it takes?
Desperation may start setting in for the BMW, and it gives a cheeky little nudge there as well, very much confirming the presence that he is not going away without a fight. And this one's going all the way down to the wire, but it's very easily to lose sight of your goals and to make a silly mistake or someone careering up the inside. You can't afford to do that, and the two BMWs almost commit the same mistake. But being teammates, they had to think better of it.
I don't know about nobody at track speed breathing. I bet nobody's breathing at Triple A's engineering either. So Phil Keane, a third of the lap down, checks the mirrors again. Body language looks very relaxed and smooth. And Johnny Cocker is going to have to spring a major surprise on him. He's been following Phil Keane for the better part of 30 minutes and has yet to show him anything that he couldn't cover off. This time though, Cocker will leave nothing on the table, using every inch of the track and every iota of performance left in the tyres. Down the Bentley straight for the final time. He's not close enough. He is not closing. Phil Keane doesn't even look in the mirrors, looking through the corner as he comes through Brundle and into Nelson's. 3 turns to go. He's got 2 car lengths in hand as they drop down into the bomb hole. Through the compression and into Coram Curve. Now all he's got to do is get his braking right and the checkered flag will be his. Final corner down to Murray's. Always a potential disaster point. Right behind him, Johnny Cocker, but that is where he will stay. Phil Keane is going to win this in the track speed Porsche. Johnny Cocker right behind him in the Curiacos BMW, and for third place it'll be another BMW. But it is Porsche victorious here at Snetterton in race 1. Across the line, Luke Hines in third, Joe Osborne in 4th place. A great result for the Triple A team. Both their cars right up towards the podium spots.
And it's going to be Gavin Kershaw that's right up towards victory lane, because he's not that far away from claiming Lotus's first victory of their 2014 return to British GT. And it is now confirmed Lotus finally on the top step of the podium for the GT4 class, and they will be on top of the world with that.
First win of the year for the GT4 Lotus of Yusuf and Kershaw. After clashing off passing Laturas, Derek Johnston excluded, so Triple Eight teammates Mole and Osborne inherited third, but our winners, John Minshaw and Phil Keane.
Phil, well done, mate. First win of the year.
Yeah.
You worked for that, didn't you?
I did. Johnny kept me honest. Seriously, he's a good peddler and a good team, good car. So, yeah, it was tough.
Particularly towards the end, it looked like he was really catching you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we don't have the aero of these guys. So, you know, as soon as we lose the tyres, we just rely on the Porsche's straight line speed, really, to keep us ahead. So it was difficult, you know, especially around here.
Obviously, the main focus for this weekend is to get Marco the biggest haul of points we can. And, yeah, I did my best job I could today, but yeah, we're looking forward to the next race. I mean, the Porsche we knew was always going to be a really tough car to race against. It's very, very strong in the straight line. All of our performance really is in the corners. So, you know, not much I could do really, but I did my best, and just waiting for a little mistake maybe or a bit of traffic. A lucky break for me, but it didn't really come, so yeah, close.
First win in the GT4 this series. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's come slower than I thought after fantastic rounds at Alton, then bad luck Rockingham, Silverstone, well, and a bit Snetterton when we had a change of luck. And, you know, we've been quick all weekend, and Aussie's done an amazing job. You know, the team, trying up the ante as guys from work visit us in the paddock and stuff, you know, and it's a lot of people around, it's good pressure, so no, it's fantastic.
A great result for Keane and Minshaw. Can they do it again in race 2? Johnny Adam in the Aston Martin was on pole for the second encounter, with Adam Carroll alongside in the number 18 Ferrari. The Aston Martin driver controlled the pace and the pressure superbly, taking the lead into the first turn. Everybody made it through safely, and amazingly they repeated the process at the hairpin, though there were a couple of close shaves. At the beginning of lap 2, then it all came to an end. John Gore hit Luke Hines' BMW in the Aston of Andy Schultz, bringing out a red flag. Thankfully, all the drivers escaped okay. The cars, however, were heavily damaged and the clear-up operation took some while. On the restart, it wasn't long until there was more drama. An axle failure pitched Tom Sharp into a huge crash in his Ginetta. Dan Camish hit the front of the GT4 battle, taking the lead from Gavin Kershaw's Lotus. After victory in race 1, the Lotus hit more problems and would eventually retire. Johnny Adam handed over the #1 Aston Martin with the race lead. As John Minshaw left the pits, his Porsche got in between the leaders in the GT4 category, Adrian Barwick's Ginetta emerging ahead of the Porsche. At the checkered flag, it was the first win of the season for reigning champion Andrew Howard and co-driver Johnny Adam. And there was a second win after Silverstone for Twisted Team Parker, the Ginetta drivers Bradley Ellis and Adrian Barwick taking victory. GT4 win #2 for Barwick and Ellis, a first podium for Paul White and Tom Onslow-Cole, Adam Carroll second on his debut, but the win goes to Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard.
Johnny, just amazing. That first stint was just amazing. He's in a league of his own, absolute league of his own. So for me, it was just a question of getting on with it, keeping the gap and staying in front.
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but it actually feels better than Silverstone, because that felt like it was worked for. Silverstone, Brad gave me such a kind of, not an easy lead, but he gave me enough just to be able to just drive through it. But this, I thought we fought for.
Well, Snetterton has really shaken up the standings. Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam take the points lead as Minshaw and Keane move up to 5th after winning race 1. Giddings and Wiley retake the GT4 lead.
Well, that's it from Snetterton at the end of a dramatic weekend. We promised you excitement, and boy, did the drivers in the British GT Championship deliver, with wins for Phil Keane and John Minshaw in their Porsche, and defending champions Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam in the Beechdean Aston Martin. Can the defending champions make it 2 wins at a row? The only way to find out is by joining us at Spa in Belgium.